Recording in progress.
Hello, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us today for our monthly live webinar all the way from SoHum Mountain Healing Resort. And we're not physically at SoHum. We're down in downtown Asheville in our studios. And I'm here today with my dear friend Vrinda Devani.
Hi everyone. It's so nice to see you and be with you today.
Nice. Now, today we're going to be talking about spring and the transition with the seasons and how do we adapt the body and the mind and the soul and what are the things that we need to do here. Before we get started, how about you tell us where are you dialing from? I see one of my really good dear friends, Laura. Hi, Lau. Let's see, Sherry, thank you for dialing it in and turning your camera on. We would love to invite you all to turn your cameras on. Love seeing your faces and where you're dialing from. So just put it there in the chat real quick. Let's see, I don't think we can see the chat yet. Oh, there it is. All right. Nice. Oh. Sounds good. Okay, so first of all, my name is Sandy. For those of you that don't know me, I am your Ayurvedic ambassador at SoHum Mountain Healing Resort, and some of you may or may not have heard about SoHum. But SoHum is the beautiful, beautiful retreat center that we have up in the mountain, in the middle of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So if you haven't made it there yet, we would love to invite you to come. And Chris, actually, if you wouldn't mind just sharing that slide. This is just for those of you interested in coming for a full Panchakarma retreat, a 7-day detox. Feel free to take your phone and scan that barcode, and that will take you directly to set up a call with me personally and some other members of my team just to walk you through what a Panchakarma is like. And we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. Now, why don't we go ahead and start with just a brief meditation to center ourselves. So find a comfortable position. If you can, put your feet on the ground and allow yourself to ground yourself. Now, if you're looking at inviting something into your life, I would like to ask you to put your palms facing up. And if there is anything that you would like to release, which may be the case, especially on the transition of the season, in that case, we put our hands facing down as a sign of letting go. And just so gently, we take a deep, big inhale. And gently, we let it all go. Another deep inhale. And we let it go. And just like that, we welcome the transition of the seasons. We welcome the transition that we're experiencing here right now in Asheville or wherever you may be, going from the winter to the spring. And these transitions allow us to leave behind all that which no longer serves us, to move and to flow from one state to the other, allowing for the new to arise, creating space, and inviting everything new to come into our lives. And with that, I would like to invite you also to set your intention for this spring coming up. What are those things that you would like to let go of? What are those things that you would like to grow during this spring season? Perhaps you want to grow more compassion, more love, maybe more self-awareness. Whatever that may be, take these few seconds to set that intention. And as we hear these birdies on the outside just singing to our ears, we just so gently bring our hands into prayer position in front of our heart center. And if our practice permits, we bow to each other, bringing our hands up to our forehead, asking for clarity of mind as we move forward through the transition of the seasons. We bring our hands down onto our heart center and ask for a humble, loving heart. And last but not least, we bring our hands in front of our lips and we ask for sweet, loving, and tender communication. And with that, we just so gently open our eyes and come back into this beautiful conversation that we're going to be having today. So, now that I have Brenda here, my dear friend, she's an expert when it comes to talking about the transitions of the seasons, Ayurvedically speaking, what are the things that are happening through our mind, our body, and our souls, and why is it so important to connect with nature? So Brenda, tell us, independently of where we are physically, that is technically going from the winter into the spring, why is it so important to be aware of the transitions of the seasons?
Yeah, so, if you think about everything in nature, including us as an organism that is a part of nature, us as a human being, we all evolve in harmony with the rhythms of nature. So our biology has evolved to mirror the rhythms of nature, just like our biology has evolved to be in harmony and in relationship with all the organisms that are around us. It's just how evolution happens. Yeah. And so to really embrace those rhythms and to live according to those rhythms and be aware of those rhythms and respond accordingly is to be in harmony with your own rhythm, your own biology, your own internal ecosystem. And so it's almost a non-negotiable to me to be connected to nature. And if you look at all the diseases that are happening, it really ramped up tremendously since we started to lose connection to those rhythms. We have the hacks of light, you know, allowing us to be up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Yeah. We have technology that gives us blue light when we shouldn't be having it. It really throws our whole system off. Right. And so to be more in harmony with what is going on in nature and allowing our rhythms to reflect that is to really just make our whole alignment internally happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So beautiful. And I think the most important part of that is really going back to the way that we used to live, but yet still be in this modern world where we have to adapt, right?
Sure.
So it's definitely difficult when you're living your day-to-day life and you're connected with, you know, all the different devices, computers, phone, television. So what would you say would be a good way for someone that is feeling disconnected from nature and the changes of the seasons to begin to connect again, and more so to feel it in their body?
Yeah.
Because I find that when I feel it, I am becoming more aware of that connection and I allow myself. So what are some of the things you would recommend?
Yeah, I think having certain anchors, like you're alluding to try to do a complete overhaul of every moment of our day just isn't practical or feasible for most of us. But having certain anchors. So what is your routine like in the morning? What is your routine like in the evening? And I would say to begin with, just be aware and align with the sun. You know, let the sun be your guide and start there if nowhere else. And so what that looks like is in the morning waking up and being outside unfiltered. So engaging with the sun without any filter. Put your feet on the ground, let the sun rays hit your eyes, again without filter, without a window, without anything. Just let that come in unfiltered. There's research that the sun rays hitting your eyes directly as it's rising stimulates the healthy production of testosterone. It also...
Which, by the way, is needed for both male and female.
100%.
Not just male.
Yeah.
So all of us women also need that production of testosterone.
Just like men need some estrogen too.
That's right.
It's just different levels. The other thing that does is it cues your body and mind to when to start winding down and to go to sleep. So a lot of us, when we have sleep issues, we focus, what are you doing at nighttime? And that is important. But waking up at the same time and letting the sun rays hit your eyes every morning can also support that, because again, it's all biological circadian rhythms, right? Like our body knows like roughly, 12 to 14 hours after the sun rises, it's time to wind down. So having a interaction with nature first thing in the morning. At nighttime, one of my favorite things is as the sun is setting, not the hour before you go to sleep, is to start winding down then, because the sun it isn't an on-off switch, it slowly winds down. So in the evening, in our home, we start to dim the overhead lights, or lights in general in our home. We turn off the overheads, turn lamps on as the sun is setting, so it's more at eye level and not overhead. And so these are just like changing the music when you go to, like at that time, being closer to the ground and doing puzzles on the floor instead of like wrestling the way the kids like to do. And then the third anchor is your lunch. So that should be your biggest meal, because that's when the sun is at its highest point. And so your digestive capacity, your activity, everything, that should be like 10 to 2 should be your highest activity, as well as your biggest meal should be at that time. So just aligning with the sun, that is like the key.
Yeah, those are beautiful, beautiful recommendations. So I'm going to ask that you take a piece of paper and a pen and maybe just write down, it could be also on your phone or whatever you have accessible, and just write down what are the 3 things. Let's not make this overwhelming, not make it daunting. What are those 3 things that you can do today that may be easy, but sometimes we're not finding the time? And we're going to make the time for this transition. We're going to make that commitment to ourselves. So just write down what are those 3 things that you're going to do to have a beautiful transition in this season. Because the idea is not for us to just talk about these practical tips, but also for you to use them as something that you can now implement in your daily life. So I'll give you a couple of seconds there as you're writing down. I see some heads down, just writing. And if anyone wants to share, you can either share on the chat, as well as you can unmute yourself and let us know. Maybe you can inspire others by what you're planning on doing. I can see you're writing down. So now, when we talk about the seasons, and you alluded to these too, is the cycles. There is cycles, and changes from one season to another. It is a cycle. It's the beginning of the cycle and the end of the cycle. And the end of everything is the beginning of everything, always. You talked about the circadian rhythm. So for those of you that are not aware of the circadian rhythm, is really connecting to that light and having that, it's almost like a clock, an internal clock within your own system, and then tells you when is the right time to wake up. Have you ever waken up without an alarm clock? That's your circadian rhythm talking to you. Do you ever feel tired at nighttime when you're ready to go to sleep? That's your circadian rhythm. So we also have our menstrual rhythm. There is the moon cycle, the solar cycle. So all these are cycles that are from nature connected to our own self, and becoming aware of the influence that nature does have on us, as well as the influence that we have on nature. Because it's a reciprocal relationship. It's a beautiful, loving relationship in between what we have going on with Mother Earth and us. It's just bringing that awareness. So what happens is we disconnect. We disconnect with everything because we think my role is to get up, brush my teeth, get ready, run out the door, maybe even feed the kids or whatever that may be, go to work, and then it becomes a to-do list the entire day. So can we talk about intentionality? How can we be more intentional for each of these things that we're doing in a way that allows us to be more conscious and more aware about, first of all, the things that we're doing, but second of all, how we can connect with nature during those steps?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just presence, you know, and being in the moment and not being distracted by the next thing to do or the next item on our to-do list, or what will happen if I don't get this done. It's just whatever we do, being fully present, or wherever we are, being fully present. And so, you know, as it relates to the seasons and shifts in seasons, I always love this practice that my son, he was going to a Waldorf school, and in his early childhood program, they took the same walk in the forest every single day.
Nice.
And every single day, they took the same walk so they could understand seasons just through their observation of what was changing on that path. Like, oh, like the leaves are starting to dry. Oh, there are no leaves on that tree. Oh, there are little buds happening on this tree now. Oh, it's warmer. So like, it's just the presence and awareness to be able to notice these little things. We're usually on our phone while we're walking. We're usually not looking up when we're outside. Even from this building to our car, how much beautiful information signals could nature be giving us if we were just present in that moment?
Right.
You know, the other thing that I always loved was we would be, you know, we'd be going on hikes, and my husband and I would be like, look, we gotta get to this point. And the kids would always want to stop and be like, oh, let me look at this little rock or this little butterfly. And we're just so focused on where we're getting instead of like, look at all this beauty and magic happening as we walk. And so I feel like so much of it is just presence and just allowing ourselves to pause in the mind to just shut up, you know, so that we can
quiet
take
the mind.
we can take in the messages and the signals and love notes from nature that are always being sent our way, but we're just not aware enough.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Love notes from nature. Oh, I absolutely love that. We're gonna put that quote somewhere. It's so, so true. It's like our minds are just always going, and it's just finding that pause, right? There's a reason why, you know, there is a saying that says stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
You know, it's like pause. and just take the time to acknowledge that the roses are there, that they're beautiful, and they are giving us their beauty without us even asking. It's for us to take that moment and that pause and acknowledge it and just say thank you. Maybe talk back to her, right? And just saying thank you for being there. Thank you for allowing me to become present and recognize that you're there and you're giving me that beauty. So how many of those interactions can we do? I'll give you another example. I recently went to Peru, and one of the things that was super, I created a greater level of awareness was also with the connection of the food. So one of the things that I used to do was I used to cook and serve and eat, and then you're just eating, and sometimes you're eating, you're talking, you're on your phone, you're thinking, and it was just so obvious to me the gratitude that I needed to feel and talk to the food that is actually nourishing my body. It's an act of reverence and just really acknowledging like the person that planted that seed that ended up becoming a vegetable and a fruit, and taking that and then having it all the way to my kitchen and being able to cook with love and pouring that energy and that love into the food. So you can see the intentionality behind of what Brenda was talking about. Actually, recently we were cooking together also in our kitchen, and we were having fun where I could see Brenda having fun just making this phyllo dough pizza that we were making, and it was that joy, because you then pour that energy, and guess what happens? You then ingest that, and you're ingesting the energy of that love, fun, the moment that you were experiencing. So the invitation for all of you is to really think about the transitions of the seasons, how you can connect more, what are the things that you can do differently to bring a little bit more awareness into your everyday life, so that it can become what it already is, which is very special. It's not something that you are creating that doesn't exist. It already exists. We just need to bring that awareness to it. So now we're slightly going to be shifting here to the specificity of this transition. Because here in Asheville, we're going from winter to the spring. You may be in a different location. If you're in a different location, let us know. I can see someone in San Diego. Melina is in Brazil. So we'll try to talk about the transitions in other seasons. Please type in there. And Chris, if you can scroll up the chat so we can see any, no, actually down, sorry. Okay, we don't have any posts there. So tell us, Brenda, about specifically right now, from the winter to the spring.
Yeah.
What is that like? Like
Yeah.
what was happening in our bodies, our mind, and our soul during the winter? And what is about to happen as we go into the spring?
Sure. So again, you just need to look at nature and you'll understand what's happening in your body. So, you know, we went from a very kapha stage, and we're still in a kapha stage, but kapha is the earth and water elements. And earlier in the winter, it's earth and water, but with a little bit more solidity to it. And now we're still in the kapha season and going into spring, but it's more liquid. So that solidity is liquefying a bit. And in the winter, especially in the dead of winter, you know, things were very still. So the stillness and stability of earth element was really dominant. It was also dark. And so a lot of what was happening was an internal internalization, hibernation, reflection. And that's why, you know, I have a little bit of an issue with this concept of January hit, New Year's resolutions, because we're still in the dead of winter. You know, we're not quite ready to, like, I wasn't ready to start to be like, oh, let's plan this, let's plan that. There was an inspiration, like the seed of the inspiration was starting to come about, but I was still like, no, I still need to be slower. You know, like I'm not quite there yet. However, in the last month or so, the seeds I feel are starting to sprout in me, you know, like it's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see how this seed wants to manifest. I can see myself wanting to move it with some more warmth and inspiration as the sun is starting to become warmer. Like that warmth is coming within me too. Instead of being more like still and wanting to be more still in my internal state as well as physically, I'm like, I want to start working out again. I want to start moving again. I want to be outside. Let's get a membership to the Arboretum. Let's be, I'm starting to feel that like the liquid, things are starting to flow again. So this is a really fantastic time to start moving, and it's actually really healthy, because if you look at like outside in nature, if things were too stagnant, then diseases would start to happen. If the water doesn't flow, right? Like then things start to get stale and starts to not be healthy with the warmth as an added factor. Similarly, in our body, it's important to start moving and helping our body move and kind of bring life back into the body.
Nice, nice. So if any of you are still feeling a little bit of that heaviness, a little bit of that groundiness, because heavy could be grounding too, like you're feeling cozy, you're feeling like you still want to hibernate for a little longer, you want to stay in front of the fire, or still just cuddle up and read a book, maybe even introspect. If you're still feeling that, it's normal. That is part of this transition moving out, and slowly, I love how you position it of that seed, that you're beginning to feel that seed. So see if you can connect with that. See if you can take a look at outdoors and see, what does the outdoor look like and how am I feeling? I want you to feel physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, what are your emotions like? What are your thoughts like? You know, it's not only about the physical body. We have to remember that our whole entire human experience is about the mind, the body, and the soul, not only this body. So paying attention to those signals and what are the thoughts, what are the feelings, emotions, sensations that we're having, those are our GPS, our internal GPS, just letting us know, okay, we're going into this transition, how am I getting ready? So now let's talk about the spring. What does the spring look like in Ayurveda? And what are the things that we will begin to feel as we transition into the spring?
So this is the time to really support healthy water element. And for a healthy water element, you need to move. Bitter taste is really, really important. I mean, that's what's naturally growing. Again, just look to nature, what's naturally growing. You're going to learn everything you need to know. But the bitter greens, that's a really, like just bitterness in general in terms of taste, and just really getting things moving. So this is a really fantastic time to do practices like breath work. So if you're feeling sluggish and you're like, I don't know yet about like really working out, start with breath work. Powerful breath work, and like pranayama. So you could start with alternate nostril breathing. It's like the most simplest benign ones, but work yourself up to Kapalabhati, where you're pulsing your abdomen, or Bhastrika, where you're really dumping your lungs. But any breath work, get prana moving. And once that's moving, then yes, go outside, go for a walk, start hiking, you need to move. Otherwise, kapha is going to start to get too still, stagnant, and then create ama, or toxins in the body. So this is actually, in about a month or two, this is going to be such a really great time to take whatever's too stagnant and just start to like clear it out as well. Bitter greens will be really important, like I was saying. So cooked salads, it's a little cold still to be having raw salads. That's more of a summer thing. We want to still tend to our digestive fire. But cooked salads, greens, leafy greens are really, really fantastic at this time as well. And then, I feel like on an energetic level, this is the time to start planting your seeds for the year. Like you could take what you initially thought about in January if that was part of your process, but now be like, okay, now that I feel the warmth and the potential in me, what am I really feeling called to? Go ahead and make your year plans, map things out. This is the time to like start to kind of think through what do I really want the year ahead to be about, energetically, spiritually for myself, and planting the seeds with your intention.
Nice. So why don't we go ahead and take a couple of minutes now that we have it fresh in our minds, and just write down, what are those seeds that you're wanting to plant for the year? Just take a few seconds, because you're working through that intention, you're mobilizing that prana, you're here present, you made the effort, the time to be here to learn about this. So let's go ahead and take that from ideation to actually manifestation, which is the point in time where now you're learning about it, you're writing it down, those intentions are flowing through you. And the next step then it will obviously be to take action, right? You will take action as you walk out, you look at nature, you will pause, you'll pay attention to your mind, your meals. Beautiful. I see some of you writing down those intentions. Does anyone want to share what your intention is going to be during this transition? Anyone? No? All right, I'll share mine. How's that? Oh, I see. Laura, did you raise your hand?
Do you
No?
mind scrolling up on the chat?
Let's see. We have something here on the chat. Chris, would you mind rolling? Let's see. Okay. Here, Laura put in there. One of the things I do during the transition when it's not too hot yet is I have lunch outside on the grass, sit on a blanket, take off my shoes, get a bit of sun without having my phone with me, and always do some breath work and hug a beautiful tree. Good. I love that. I love that. Actually, there is a lot of research that has been done about the energy from the trees. So hugging a tree, talking to the plants, singing, putting your feet on the ground without shoes, all that helps us feel a little bit more grounded. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Laura. Now, for anyone else in other parts of the world doing a transition, perhaps in a different season, what are your thoughts there?
Well, it depends what
On the season.
Yeah, so Linda was saying that's already very hot here.
Yeah.
And so, I think I was talking to someone earlier who was in Carlsbad, California, and she was like, it is like 85 degrees here. And so the sun is more intense, like maybe the season is longer where they are. In the end, it's really just make those anchors, your morning, your evening, and your midday meal. The main thing that may shift is that depending on how hot it is or how wet and damp it is, you're going to go for the opposite qualities in terms of your activity and your diet. So for instance, Linda is saying it's very, very high here, then you're going to want to have a little bit, maybe more of the bitter greens to increase that cooling effect. You may not have, ginger pickle and things like that to keep tending to your Agni like you would here in Asheville because it's still a little bit cool. You may have some cucumbers in your food, cilantro in your food. You may not be out in the sun so much like, Laura is going to be in the sun. Maybe just, sticking to the earlier part of the morning. If you're in a place where it's like super wet, it's like the liquid guna, the quality is really there and really at par, then you really want to focus on movement. You really want to make sure that water is moving and circulating in your body and not getting stagnant and causing buildup. So I think just think about like what are the qualities that you're seeing. It's quite intuitive. Like in Ayurveda we have 10 qualities and the opposite. You could have different names for it. It really doesn't matter. Just think about what do I see in nature? What feels heavy and in excess in me? And then just take the opposite. So if it's cold, you go for hot. If it's hot, you go for cold. If it's heavy, you go for light. And you just work with it in this way.
Yeah, and to add to that point, just remember she talked about the opposites, and this is one of the foundations of Ayurveda. Likewise, like increases like. So if you are in the cold weather and you're drinking cold drinks, you're increasing that imbalance within yourself.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind always, that opposite balance, like increases like. And that is the foundation, one of the foundations of Ayurveda. So connect with nature. Now, another thing that I personally like doing is just feeling my body. And I've come a long way in comparison to how I was in my younger years, where I just used to go through the motions, emotions and motions, both, and just really not paying attention what my body was telling me. But the more and more that I'm growing older and that I'm learning about Ayurveda, I find that that connection with the self, as much as the connection with nature, is important, because the self is actually telling you already when there is something out of balance, something that feels off. So if you're feeling hot, also pay attention to your mind. Like, is your mind racing? Are you having very frisk thoughts? Are you reactive? Because that's your pitta kicking in. So then you need to balance that pitta, and you can feel it. It's so incredible when you become in tune with this instrument called the body, that the body actually talks to you and tells you. And then you begin to learn more about yourself. It's not so much about learning other things. It's incredible how you actually get to learn more about your own self. So, continuing here with the transitions. So, what are some of the, I would say, daily go-tos in Ayurveda that you would say? I know that we have like the Dinacharya, right? And we talked about the 3 things at the very beginning that you recommended. But what are some of the golden standards, specifically from the winter to the spring, that they can practice? So that way they can also make a note of that.
Yeah. So this is, like I was saying, this is the time to make sure you are moving, make sure that you are getting out, because we definitely don't want the kapha to accumulate and get stagnant within us. So whether that's breath work, riding a bike, swimming, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you're moving your body and you're doing it in a way that the circulation is really getting impacted. So strength training is great, but we want that air element to come in to offset the liquid and earth elements in our body. The second thing is to make sure that your portions are lighter, because it is kapha season. Heaviness is there. So having, in addition to the greens and lighter foods, having smaller portions and maybe even fasting. This is a good time to have some sort of fast, whether it's skipping a meal or having a longer window between dinner and breakfast, or just having a day where you fast completely, you know, just do more of a water or liquid or tea or broth type fast, would be really, really helpful during this time. The reason why bitters are so good is because it stimulates your liver, and your liver is such an important organ, and this is a great time to be detoxing it. And in one of the books that I was reading, the yogi that had written it said that one of the best ways to stimulate Bhuta Agni, which is your liver Agni, is by fasting or eating less. Eating less will put less of a strain on it. So making sure you kind of incorporate that in whatever way is feasible for you. Again, the one extreme is like just having a complete fast, and the other extreme is, you know, just have your dinner a little bit earlier, make it lighter. And there's so many variations in between as well. Let's see, movement. When you're doing your practices, say you're really into yoga, this is a good time to do faster paced yoga rhythmic type movement versus slow and steady where you're holding poses for long. That's really great for Vata season. This might be a time to like, hey, let's go ahead and move faster. It's a good time. We definitely want to sweat to kind of get, again, that's the sign that the liquid is moving, the liquid element is moving. In terms of hydration, you can definitely drink water, but if you're looking at you are going to drink water, but you can definitely drink a lot of water, but it may be less than what you're drinking in Pitta and Vata season, because the water element is already quite dominant. And then lastly, in terms of your daily routine, your dinacharya, you might want to wake up earlier. It offsets the heaviness of kapha, because kapha time is 6 to 10. So ideally, if you can wake up before 6, that will offset the kapha, and, you know, just overall having a little bit more stimulation in terms of your wakefulness as well. And definitely don't nap. Try avoiding napping.
Those were all beautiful and great. I wanted to mention a few things for those of you that are not familiar with some of the terms that we're using. So dinacharya is your daily routine. And you can create your own daily routine. You know, Dr. Ladd have taught us many different versions of it. You can just create your own. You don't have to adopt someone else's. But it does involve like waking up early, making sure that we connect with the sun. Perhaps we take some time for meditation so we can just quiet the mind before we get busy. We also do self-abhyanga. Abhyanga is the warm oil massage, and we're just using very gentle strokes up to our heart and just doing that massage. And then just as the day goes by, you can continue to add, like, what are some of those things that are meaningful to you? Another word that we use, it was prana. So for those of you that are not familiar with prana, is your energy force, is what's within you, but it's also what you inhale, is our inhale and our exhale. So making sure just that slight emphasis that I just did is already moving the energy differently than me just breathing unconsciously. There is the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. So making sure that once we bring our awareness to it, we now ignite that prana. We also use the word Agni. Agni is our digestion or our digestive fire. In that, when we feel that it's dull, especially during the winter time, we may feel it that is stagnated or dull or even sluggish. At that point, you can use some of these techniques that Vrinda shared to begin to ignite. One of the things that we do, especially for people that are attending our Panchakarma retreat, we have a call with them dedicated to talk about how to ignite their digestion, where we walk them through how to make pickled ginger. And then you peel the ginger, you slice it in very thin slices, you put it in a glass jar with a little bit of lemon or lime, whatever you prefer, perhaps a pinch of salt, and you take that 20 minutes before every meal to ignite that digestion, that Agni. And the other word that we used was Ama. In Ama in Ayurveda is the toxins. And what happens with Ama and the toxins is whenever we're eating, it's not so much only about what we eat, or it's more so about what our bodies are able to digest or not. In that case, if our body is not able to process certain foods, that is what converts into Ama into the body, and then they adhere into giving organs, typically the weakest organs in the body, which turns into diseases. That is why it's so important to pay attention to our liver, to make sure that we're doing regularly cleanses or detoxes, or even the Panchakarma, where you're going for a full immersion, just to make sure that you're doing a complete reset. So I just wanted to make sure I brought up those terms and that we're all familiar with the lingo, so that way we can all understand really what's happening to our body and how we're connecting to these terms. Now, I know we're getting here towards the end. Now, we talked about the body and the transitions. Now, what happens in the mind from the winter to the spring?
Yeah. So, well, do you mind if I answer Linda's question real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I was just staring at that as you were speaking.
Yes.
She was just wondering about how long to leave the morning massage oil on. So in kapha, actually, you want to have less oil because it's, already so heavy. Like kapha is already heavy, the earth and water elements. So you want less oil and lighter oils, and maybe leave it on just a little bit less. Whereas vata season, which is dry, you're going to use like sesame oil and use a lot of it and keep it on longer. So Linda, I will do my massage, I'll do my breath work, and then I'll go take a shower just so it gets to soak in a little bit. But even just doing it and then being able to take a hot shower after is better than not doing it at all.
Yeah.
But back to your question about mentally what's happening. So mentally in the winter, we're going from a place of just a lot of just internal reflection. It's not a time to be overly active. It can actually be kind of dark internally as well, where you're reconsidering things, you're questioning things, you're evaluating things from the previous, you're digesting it, and not with the expected outcome to find solutions, but just being in the void. It's, if you look at winter in nature, it's not like things are quiet, but then, they're like nature's making plans for the next season. It's just quiet. It's just like, okay,
which is good to
I'm
sit
just-
on the quiet.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not used to it and we reject it, but it's part of nature, right? It's like, how do we embrace it?
It's important because it's an important time to just digest, and a lot of that digestion doesn't happen at an active mental level. It happens in our subconscious, and that subconscious activity really gets supported when you're really more in a parasympathetic restful state, where you're okay with whatever's coming up, you just allow it to come up and you just make space for it. So, a term that I like to use a lot is it's the void. It's where nothing is there. There is no solution. There is no fix it, especially for us Pitta people. We want to have like a solution. Like when my children come to me with a problem, I'm like, okay, let's find solutions. My daughter, like she's the one that like grabs me. She's like, Mama, this is why I don't like to come to you. You're always trying to find something. I just want to be mad right now. And so she's the one that kind of reels me into that. But for Pitta people, it's hard to just be in that state of like, okay, let me just embrace this for a second. And one of the key terms that I liked, that I heard on a podcast that I love, is the point isn't to get over it, is to move through it. But to move through it, you just kind of have to take it step by step and just let it be. So that's winter. It's very quiet. It can get dark, definitely in nature, but also internally. But spring is when that warmth starts to bring some inspiration back. It starts to, like I said, like you start to feel the sprouts in you, like the inspiration, the return to joy, the return to spontaneity as well, and movement at the end of the day. There's light and movement in terms of goodness, physically as well as mentally. And so what that looks like and feels like is the light is that a little bit of optimism is returning. You start to be like, okay, like maybe I want to do things like this. You start to go into the solutions a little bit. The movement is starting to be like, okay, let me act on some of these inspirations and not just be in the void and internal. So mentally there is a resurgence, like kind of a reawakening of all of our senses and our mental faculties at this time.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. Also, I would say creativity. It's another one that starts like blooming this time of the year because you're feeling that inspiration that Vrinda was talking about. And actually, if we think through it, even within our energy force, within our chakra energy system, the kapha season, the winter time is more so that grounding, that root chakra, but then we begin to move up within our chakra system as well. And that elevates us into that creativity, maybe a little bit more freedom, more sensual, more happiness, and we begin to feel these things within us. And sometimes we don't correlate the two, but they're very closely related to how we feel, how nature feels, how our energy feels, how our mind feels. And that is why it's important to take that little pause that Brenda was talking about to begin to connect with the dots within us, because it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, one of the things that I really enjoy to start to bring in, I brought this into, we have a membership, Prana Life membership that you get after your Panchakarma stays, and I do a women's circle every month in that. And one of the things that we did this last month and I really enjoy is just starting to dance again.
Yeah.
It's not like overly forceful. It's spontaneous. It could be fast or restless. It's just starting to move again with joy and with a sense of grace. It's not, I wouldn't say rave music is the best music to dance to like right away, but just like gentle like music, just get your body moving and feel that brightness and movement starting to come, like more that watery movement.
Listening to music, singing while you're cooking, maybe drawing or painting, It's like I put on our back there in our deck an easel, and I'm getting ready for whenever the days are, brighter and warmer to begin to paint. Also, I sign up for a kirtan class where I'm going to be learning for the first. I've never played an instrument in my life, and I'm like, I've been feeling this urge to sing. And if you think about it, our body is an instrument. And our voice is the music of that instrument, the way that we communicate, the way that we talk. in the tone and the voice and the energy that comes through it are those strings that you're playing, or those keys that you're playing within that instrument. So whatever that may be, if something is coming as an inspiration to you and wanting to either sign up for a class, or you're feeling like, what is it? Is it singing? Is it dancing? Is it whatever it is? This is a beautiful time of the year to tap into that. I also wanted to talk about cleansing and detoxifying, because we talked about the liver, and the liver plays a really important role in our body. Our liver is constantly processing our food, our everything, our blood, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is constantly working back there in the background. So how can we send some love to that beautiful liver? That's through a cleanse. And usually at the turn of every season is the best time to do a cleanse. So let's talk about why doing a cleanse is so important. Then we'll go into the different type of cleanses that you can do.
Yeah, so inevitably, even if you have the most nutritious meals and you're living in harmony with the seasons, unless you're like enlightened and beyond any stress or impact from your environment, you're going to accumulate excess elements. So, you will accumulate some excess kapha from the previous season. When you're coming from a vata season, you're going to accumulate some of the ether and air elements from vata. It's just part of being a human being. The challenge is when those elements are out of balance, our Agni, our core digestive fire, gets impacted, it gets weaker. And when our core Agni gets weaker, we start to develop that ama, the metabolic waste in our body. And when that accumulates, the channels start to get clogged and we start to develop diseases. And so a routine part of your life, whether it's a cleanse in the form of just fasting or doing something more in depth, it doesn't matter, but having regular times where you do cleanses to rebalance those elements so your Agni can get nice and strong. You can eliminate the waste that accumulated. It's really important. So many religious traditions and cultural traditions have fasting as part of their rhythms. And it's because, I feel like there's definitely the spiritual aspect of it, but there's importance of it on a physical level too. It's like ingrained in the rhythms of many Asian cultures and religions.
Absolutely. And actually you can feel it in your body. And I know I keep going back to the fact that I keep saying feel it. But once you connect with it, it's amazing what you feel. And I'll tell you, just a simple fast. It could be that you decide not to have dinner one night a week, or you decide to have a full fast, one complete day with just water, or maybe even tea. The results of what you see, the wider part of your eye looks wider. Inflammation reduces. Like you can feel like you can move, your joints feel better. You can release the waste better, go to the bathroom regularly. All those things improve your way of living, improve your well-being, and also add longevity. Because the more toxins that we're accumulating and we're not releasing intentionally, the more we're leading towards a path of disease. Now, we have different kinds of cleanses. We have our regular cleanse that we do 3 times a year at the turn of every season. And those are usually 9 to 10 days long, right?
Our home cleanses.
Our home cleanse?
Yeah, so on Ayurveda Online, which is the sister company of SoHum, we do home cleanses. They're guided. They end up being 21 days, but the main cleanse itself is 9 days.
9 days. And we literally walk you through what to do from the comfort of your home. The people that join this is like, we have a ton of people online, and we talk about everything. How many times you went to the bathroom? What did it look like? Are you eliminating properly? Because that is the proper detoxification. Now, we also have Panchakarma, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. So Panchakarma, Ayurveda is a 5,000 years old science, and Panchakarma is part of Ayurveda. But this is where you do the full immersion. This is where you will come here, or any center you want to go, hopefully here at SoHum, but you go for 7 days, 15 days, 21 days, and all you're doing, you're focusing on detoxifying and cleansing your body. your mind, and your soul. We begin 2 weeks prior to your arrival with a consultation with an Ayurvedic practitioner like Vrinda. She's not only an Ayurvedic practitioner, but she's also an MD that focuses on women's health and hormonal changes and fertility as well. So having her on your side, especially for women, there's so many questions going through menopause, perimenopause, like what are the things that I'm feeling, or whatever age you may be. Then they create a unique protocol for you. 2 people, 2 best friends, mother, daughter, whomever can come together, and you're never going to have 2 protocols that are alike. Because Ayurveda focuses on the uniqueness of that individual and creating that protocol for that person. Then after that, you have 2 more calls. One where we walk you through how to ignite your digestion, because we just talked about what happens when your digestion is not ignited. And the last one is, the last call before you arrive, is to go over internal oleation, or the ghee intake. And this is where you begin to take ghee to loosen up the toxins that have adhered into the organs. I usually describe those toxins as crazy glue. And they go into the body and they like to adhere to those organs. But we won't want them there because they will turn into diseases. So the ghee does prime our beautiful body to begin to release it. And then when you're here, in addition to being in a beautiful place and having daily practitioners check in and having amazing meals every single day, which are vegetarian with an Ayurvedic infusion as well as seasonally grown, you will also get daily treatments. And we were talking about the Abhyanga, the self-Abhyanga. Here you get the Abhyanga every single day, and it's done the way that is traditionally done in India, which means you have 2 therapists on you, 4 hands on you, and guess what's happening? They're taking their hands, and now that you have done the homework, loosening up the toxins, they're actually pushing those toxins to the center of your digestive tract. That way when you do the enemas, and these are herbal enemas, that is how the toxins exit the body. So think about the changes of the seasons and the importance of actually cleansing and making sure that whatever is stagnated in the body actually releases and leaves the body. You also have a sweatna, which is the sweat box. And this is where you're sitting on a steaming box, and now you're opening up the pores in your skin. There is 4 ways of eliminating toxins from the body. The first one is through the urine, the second one through the bowel movement, the third one through the skin, through the sweat, and the 4th one is tears. Because when we accumulate emotions, emotions also turn into toxins. So making sure that we cry every once in a while, and we allow ourselves and we welcome that. Then after the sweat, now we go into the Shirodhara. And the Shirodhara is where you have this beautiful copper base above your forehead to calm down the nervous system. And we talked about the importance of the nervous system, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. What happens is when our nervous system is constantly on the go, type A, fight or flight, our body cannot simply restore, regenerate, and rejuvenate. That is why in Ayurveda it's so important to make sure that we also attend to our nervous system so we can calm down the nervous system for a nice healing to take place. So that is what we also do at SoHum. So Chris, if you wouldn't mind just sharing again, if any of you are interested in learning more about SoHum in a full detoxification, please feel free to grab your phone, scan this QR code, and then you will be setting up a call with one of our Ayurvedic ambassadors to assist you and answer any questions that you may have. Now, is there anything else that you would like to add in this beautiful transition of the year?
No, just enjoy the warmth, the sun, and the return of the sun. In the Vedic culture, there's a festival, Holi, where we celebrate light conquering darkness and the return of the sun with flowers and petals, and also the color powder and throwing it on each other. And there's so many different ancient cultures that have their own festival of this. It is a time to be outside and regather with friends and reconnect and just enjoy the sun right now.
Beautiful. Thank you for
Yeah.
being here
Thank
today and sharing your
you.
beautiful energy. And for those of you online, make sure you take a look at your notes and what you wrote down and those 3 things that you were going to do. You said it at the beginning, and see how you can start this beautiful transition. But other than that, we look forward to seeing you again next month. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful energy, and happy, happy, happy spring. Namaste.
Recording stopped.